All right, seventh graders, today we are going to practice circumference and area of circles. This is all by itself. Circles is one big standard in seventh grade. So today we're going to practice that to make sure we understand how to calculate it and help us get ready for a test on this. So you need a piece of paper, you need pens and pencils, and we're going to start by doing a few examples together. All right, so here's my setup. I just have my piece of paper and all I did was fold it once vertically to give myself two columns to organize my work. So this says area and circumference of circles. I wrote in cursive. I don't know why I never do that. Just felt like I wanted to this time. But this is area and circumference of circles. That's what we're practicing. And I have 1 and 2 here. I'm going to make up a couple of examples for us to start with. We're going to do a few together to make sure we remember everything we need to do. So first, I'm going to say, find the circumference if the radius is 12.2 meters. That's number one. Find the circumference if the radius is 12.2 meters. And number 2 is find the area if, and I'm just going to write it like this, D equals 17 inches. Okay, so let's start with those two. Make sure we all remember, and you can pause and write those down, but let's make sure we all remember how these work, just the basics of circumference and area. So first, circumference equals diameter times pi. What I gave you here is the radius. So remember, if you have the radius and you need the diameter, you simply double it. 12.2 times 2 is 24.4 pi. At this point, you just type it in a calculator. Typed in 24.4 pi. You can type times pi or just pi. Calculator knows what it's doing. And the circumference is approximately 76.65 meters. I put an equals here. This is called in terms of pi. On your quizzes, some of the answers will stop right there and it'll be multiple choice. So you'll need to recognize what's in terms of pi and what's a decimal approximation. Okay, in terms of pi, just has the pi on it still. Decimal approximation has been typed in. Okay, let's try number 2. So if you want circumference, you need diameter. Sometimes you'll be given diameter. Sometimes you'll be given radius and you got to double it to get the diameter. Okay, find the area if diameter equals 17. Well, the first thing I know, 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. The reason I need that is because area equals, write these formulas down for yourself so that you have it right here on all the rest of them. Area equals pi r squared. So I know I need the radius, which is half of the diameter. So in this case, it'll be 8.5. Okay, now that I have that, I'm ready to go. Pi times 8.5 squared. Now, just in case this was a multiple choice question, I could just type the 8.5 squared first, and that's 72.25. So area would be 72.25 pi. That's if the multiple choice shows it to you in terms of pi. And then I can simply go times pi to get my decimal approximation, which is 226.98. And in this case, it is inches squared because area is always measured in squares. Okay, the other thing you have to be able to do is work backwards. So you have to find the circumference, you have to find the area. We've done that a lot. Hopefully we're feeling pretty good about that. Just pay attention to, do I need the radius? Do I have the radius? Do I need the diameter? Do I have the diameter? Pay attention to that and you'll be okay. The other type of problems you need to know are as follows. Okay, you can pause and write these down. You'll want to have them written down, not because you have to write down every question as you do your quizzes, but just so that when you're looking back on your quizzes, you have these examples to look at and they'll make more sense because you also wrote down the question. So these are the problems where we work backwards. You're going to practice a few of those today. You definitely need to know how to do those for your assessment. So number 3 says the circumference is, and this is approximation, if the circumference of a circle is this, can you find the diameter? So we are still using C equals D pi. I'm going to plug in 150.80 for C. I'm working backwards. Remember, when you're working backwards, instead of multiplying by pi, you simply divide by pi. Working backwards, do the inverse operation. Let's see what we get. 150.80 divided by pi, 48.001. Okay, the diameter is approximately 48 feet. This one asked for the diameter, so I'm finished. All right, we're going to use the same circumference equals diameter times pi for this one. 103.67 equals diameter times pi. We are still dividing by pi. When you work backwards, if you know the circumference, divide by pi instead of times by pi. 103.67 divided by pi, 32.99999. Okay, so the diameter is approximately 33 centimeters. Here's the thing though, this one asked for the radius. Just watch that closely. If you're working backwards, yes, divide by pi, but then look and see, was I looking for the diameter or was I looking for the radius? This one wants the radius, so we do 33 divided by 2. The radius is approximately 16.5 centimeters. Okay, at this point on your paper, and it's totally, at this point moving forward, you're no longer going to be writing down the questions. This point forward, I'm going to draw a little squiggly line here, because now is where you're going to start your work. On the same paper, you're going to start your work for your quizzes. So you'll start renumbering these. 1, 2. Uh-oh. By all means, go on the back side and use another paper if you need to. You can submit as many papers as you need to, but show all your work, write all your answers down on this. And then when you're done with your quizzes, you'll submit the front and back in this and more if you need to show me all the great work that you did practicing circumference and area of circles.